All right, Operation Build Up the Indiana Fever around Caitlin Clark is underway, and we are looking at some options that we can put together. We can piece together 2 to 3 quality pieces to replace Kelsey Mitchell.
The Indiana Fever may have just realized they can swap out Kelsey Mitchell for 3 solid contributors at nearly the same cost. With Mitchell expected to demand somewhere between $1.40 and $4 million in free agency, the Fever's front office appears to be exploring a completely different approach. Names like Bridget Carleton, Ray Burrell, and possibly Letitia Amy here are all being considered, players who could collectively cost less than retaining a single star. And when you really break it down, the numbers start to make a lot of sense if the goal is to build a true championship-caliber roster. So the real question becomes, should the Fever commit max-level money to Kelsey Mitchell or invest in multiple high-quality role players who may fit more seamlessly alongside Caitlin Clark?
$2.4 million. I believe the Indiana Fever should be piecing up that money on quality role players to add around Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, and you'll also be able to keep a Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hall by doing.
The mission to build a roster around Caitlin Clark is now fully in motion, and the Indiana Fever are facing some major decisions. With Kelsey Mitchell heading into free agency, she's expected to command a significant salary, potentially around $1.4 million, which is a substantial figure in the WNBA. That puts the Fever in a tough spot. Do they invest that entire amount in one player who may not be the perfect fit next to their franchise star? Or do they spread that money across multiple players who could better complement Clark's style of play? When you really evaluate the free agency market, the answer starts to become clearer. The Fever have the opportunity to replace Mitchell with 2 or even 3 strong role players who align more naturally with the system, come at a lower cost, and provide greater roster flexibility. This approach could also help them retain key contributors like Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hall, players who have already shown strong chemistry alongside Clark. It's not about taking anything away from Mitchell's talent. It's about making calculated decisions to build a more balanced and effective team.
Have quite the task on their hand in this offseason, and we'll have much more to do about this offseason when it comes to building out this roster and things like that. Now, what I want to do is take a look at the options that we have in terms of replacing Kelsey Mitchell, because I think a lot of people say, oh, get rid of Kelsey, but they don't necessarily take a look at the options. Okay, so what I've done, courtesy of Spot Rack here. Okay, so this is the list of the free agents, and I've already picked out some of the people. Now, all these people here up top, okay, you got the Jackie Youngs, the Kelsey Mitchells, that's the Louis Vuitton store. We're replacing Kelsey. We're not replacing it with another Louis V item, okay? We're not going quite to the bottom. We're not going quite completely clearance rack.
A lot of people are quick to say the Fever should move on from Kelsey Mitchell, but they're not really digging into who could realistically replace her. That's where the conversation actually gets interesting, because not all free agents bring the same value. The market has clear tiers. At the very top, you've got the luxury level players, names like Jackie Young and others commanding max contracts. At the opposite end, there's the bargain tier, where teams are just hoping to find someone who can give them decent rotation minutes. But the most intriguing space is right in the middle, the sweet spot where you can land legitimate starters without blowing up your salary structure. That's exactly where the Fever should be focusing. They don't need to chase top-tier, max-level talent because they already have their centerpiece in Caitlin Clark. The real priority is finding players who complement her skill set and enhance the overall system. And that's why players like Bridget Carleton start to make a lot of sense in this conversation.
Okay. Now, this is the aisle I want to shop in to build this team out, okay? Bridget Carleton from the Minnesota Lynx. I think she would be a great fit next to Caitlin Clark, okay? Bridget Carleton, last season, she made $125,000, I believe. She is an unrestricted free agent, okay? She has great size, great size at the position, okay? She can do a multitude of things. Two-way player. She can shoot the three. She can handle the ball. She plays off the ball. Okay, and Bridget Carleton, she cost 125 grand last season. The max was what, 250? So if the max is about 1.4 or 1 point, I think not the Superman. If it's about 1.1, 1.2 for the regular max, Bridget Carleton's probably going to be about half of that based on this. So you could get a Bridget Carleton from in the 600K range, okay?
Bridget Carleton suited up for the Minnesota Lynx last season, earning around $125,000. And now she enters free agency as an unrestricted option, meaning she's free to sign wherever she chooses. What makes her such an intriguing target is her all-around skill set. She brings excellent size for a two-guard, has the versatility to defend multiple positions, can knock down shots from beyond the arc, and is capable of handling the ball when needed. On top of that, she thrives without the ball in her hands and consistently does the small, often overlooked things that winning teams rely on. The reason her numbers don't immediately stand out is largely due to the talent around her. Playing alongside Nafisa Collier, Courtney Williams, Kayla McBride, and Alana Smith means there simply aren't many shots left to go around. As a result, Carleton's true value doesn't always show up in the box score. But when you actually watch her on the floor, it's clear she's a starting caliber guard who plays the game the right way. Given her previous salary and the structure of WNBA contracts, it's reasonable to expect she could land somewhere in the $550,000 to $600,000 range in her next deal. Maybe even a little higher if multiple teams start bidding. But even at around $600,000, that's still less than half of what Kelsey Mitchell is expected to command. And in return, you're getting a player who arguably fits the modern style of play more seamlessly. She doesn't need 15 shots a night to make an impact. She doesn't rely on constant ball touches, and she's comfortable doing the little things that lead to winning. Most importantly, she allows Caitlin Clark to remain the focal point without disrupting the flow of the offense. Now, if the Fever were to bring in Bridget Carleton at roughly that price, they'd still have close to $800,000 left compared to what they might have spent on Mitchell. That's where things really start to open up, because that remaining budget could be used to bring in additional pieces. One name that stands out is Rae Burrell. She played for the Los Angeles Sparks last season and earned around $125,000. As a restricted free agent, the Sparks technically have the option to match any offer she receives. However, considering how their season unfolded and the direction of their roster, there's a realistic possibility they might not match if her market value climbs too high. Burrell is young, explosive, and thrives in an up-tempo system. She's still working toward consistency, which is why her market value hasn't skyrocketed yet, but the talent is clearly there. Her athleticism allows her to guard multiple positions. She runs the floor extremely well in transition, and she's shown flashes of knocking down shots from deep when she finds a rhythm. Is she going to drop 20 points every night? No, and that's perfectly fine. That's not what the Fever need right now. What they're looking for are role players who can excel in specific areas without needing constant touches. Burrell fits that mold. Based on her current production and previous salary, she could likely be signed in the $200,000 to $250,000 range. The Los Angeles Sparks could choose to match that offer, but if they don't, the Fever would be adding another valuable piece at a reasonable price to that point. You're looking at Bridget Carleton for around $600,000 and Rae Burrell for roughly $250,000, a combined $850,000 for two dependable rotation players. More importantly, both players bring skill sets that arguably complement Caitlin Clark more naturally than Kelsey Mitchell, giving the Fever a more balanced and flexible roster. And you'd still have about $550,000 to work with, which is where someone like Letitia Amihere comes into play. She's young, talented, and ready to contribute. The Golden State Valkyries hold some rights to her, but if they let her go, she could join the Fever for around $200,000 to $300,000. Imagine pulling this off. Bridget Carleton, Rae Burrell, and Letitia Amihere, three players who all fit the system, complement Caitlin Clark, and collectively cost roughly $1.10 to $1.20 million, still less than Kelsey Mitchell alone. Even if Amihere isn't available, a veteran like Temi Fagbennel could fill the bench, bringing toughness, versatility, and experience without breaking the bank. The bottom line? The Fever have multiple smart, financially sound options to build a stronger, more balanced team. The Fever don't have to give Kelsey Mitchell a max contract just because she's been with the team. They can use that same money to assemble a deeper, more versatile roster that truly complements their superstar. Sure, some will argue, but you're losing Kelsey's scoring. And yes, Mitchell averages 20 points per game and can put up big numbers. But the goal isn't to replace all of her production with a single player. It's to build a team that makes Caitlin Clark's job easier and provides multiple options instead of leaning heavily on just 2 players for offense. Clark will score, Aaliyah Boston will deliver in the paint, and what the Fever really need are players who can space the floor, defend multiple positions, make smart plays, and contribute without needing 15 shots each night to feel involved.
A bit more on the expensive side, okay? Ariel Atkins is going to command some money. She won't command a max. I don't believe she'll command. I believe you could get Ariel Atkins for around a $700,000 mark, maybe $750,000 mark. She's a legitimate two-way player, starting two guard, 14 points a game, can guard the best player, can play off the ball. She would be the Ariel Atkins.
That's exactly the kind of impact Bridget Carleton brings. It's what Ray Burrell can provide, and it's already what Lexi Hull delivers. And speaking of Hull, this is where smart roster construction becomes crucial. If the Fever let Kelsey Mitchell walk, they could risk losing key pieces like Hull and Sophie Cunningham, both of whom have already proven they thrive alongside Caitlin Clark. Hull is a deadly shooter, plays strong defense, and doesn't need the ball to make an impact, while Cunningham adds toughness, can hit from deep, and brings the edge the team needs. These are the types of players you want surrounding a superstar, not another ball-dominant guard who demands touches. Building around Clark is all about amplifying her strengths, which means surrounding her with complementary players rather than competitors. If the Fever decide to explore the higher end of free agency, they have options there as well. Ariel Atkins is expected to be available, a true two-way player who can lock down the opposing team's top guard while efficiently putting up around 14 points per game. She's not a max-level player, but she'll command a significant salary, likely in the $700,000 to $750,000 range. From a fit perspective, Atkins could actually be a better option than Kelsey Mitchell. She's a stronger defender, excels off the ball, and doesn't need 15 shots to make an impact. If the Fever could secure Atkins for $750,000, they'd still have roughly $650,000 left to bring in another contributor. That could be the perfect opportunity to add someone like Bridget Carleton, giving the team 2 starting caliber players for the cost of what they would have spent on Mitchell alone. It's a move that maximizes both talent and fit around Caitlin Clark.